The cornice is a decorative band located at the top of the building. It extends the full perimeter around the building on the street elevations and is basically ornament. It is the hat, if you will, of the structure. The new cornice is comprised of glass fiber reinforced concrete, which is a thin concrete shell that is attached to a steel framework or a strong back. The new cornice is approximately 8.5 feet tall, 400 feet long, and projects out from the building nearly 6 feet. The cornice is comprised of 44 panels. These cornice panels weighed about 3,500 pounds. To set these 44 panels, it was like setting a Volkswagen Beetle 200 feet in the air all around this building. Recreating the cornice and installing the cornice was a lengthy process. Long before the cornice panels showed up at the building to be installed, significant research and hundreds, if not thousands, of man-hours were required to develop the cornice, how it would look, how it would be hung, modifications required to the existing structure so that when these panels showed up, they could be installed without a problem.
The cornice, being a decorative element, was made up of a lot of individual decorative elements, all taken from sort of Roman precedents, if you will. And we believe that the original architects leaned heavily on pattern books that were readily available at the time. Since we didn't have the original drawings that detailed this, nor did we have a real close-up detail of the cornice itself, we used the same sorts of sources that they may have used, meaning the pattern books of the period, along with a general idea from the photographs, to work with a sculptor to try to come up with what we believed was a good rendition of what the original cornice had been like.
The design process is a lengthy one. It begins on paper. Once the design is completed on paper and all the details have been worked out, the manufacturer will then begin to model each of the individual items or components in clay. Those components will be assembled into one whole as a cornice panel. The panel then will be modeled and informed. Subsequently, a frame will be attached to it. That will become a mock-up. The mock-up is then installed on the building, and then it is reviewed from the street level by the architects for color, style, size, and general conformance with their specifications. The most challenging thing was to make this 400-foot-long cornice panel in 44 segments 500 miles away, such that when it showed up at the building site, it would fit on the building. Now, this required an extraordinary effort on the engineers and the contractors' part to measure the existing conditions on the building and coordinate them through the shop drawings and through the cornice manufacturer, such that each piece was made within a specific tolerance, so when it did show up, that piece would fit where it was intended to and how it was intended.
In looking at the completed cornice today, it's hard to imagine or to see all the countless hours that went into it, both on the part of the designers, the architects, the engineers, the craftspeople that had to figure out how to translate the design into the actual real piece. And then as you look up at it and see it all completed, it seems as if it had never disappeared in the first place. I often hear people say that they didn't know it had been gone. So that, I guess, is a great testament to the fact that it looks like it had never left.